Welcome to the Georgia Show. A little bit of technical issues this morning, Bill. It could be fat fingers on my side. Sorry about that.
No. I think it's a little latency in my system. I apologize for that, but it's good to join you.
We have a serious show today. We're going to bring up some serious topics because Georgians need to really know what's happening. There's a lot of cross-current narratives nationally, but also down at the Georgia level. And we're just going to bring some truth today on a lot of fronts. It's going to be a packed show. As usual, we were talking about all the content, and Bill said, and if we want to talk about anything else, and I said, yeah, right, we're going to have time for that. So we are brought to you by the Georgia Record, georgiarecord.com. Sign up for our no-ad subscriptions. We are getting a lot of intense interest on this, which is great. Emails coming in, hey, how do I do this? Fine, talk to us. We'll answer you. I'll answer you personally at 3 a.m. if you want, because we're all over this. We want to take care of our customers. It's a really beloved service because you get, as our news offering grows across the CDM network, people just love getting it with no ads. So sign up for our no ad subscriptions. Our social media, CDM1 is huge. You can click on that ad right there, and it'll get you to the no ad subscription sign up. It's $10 a month or $100 a year. So it's worth it to us because it helps get the news out there, pay for the reporters, pay for the travel. We've got a lot of initiatives going on, and we have to cover it. Also, our X channel is growing nicely, and we're getting a lot of good feedback, response. We're bringing on new writers. So there's just a lot happening at the Georgia Record, georgiarecord.com, and on the Georgia Show. And we're proud of it, and we're going to keep going because we've been really impactful, and we want to continue that legacy. We're going to talk also about some sponsors today, but Bill, what does the show look like?
So we're going to have two primary topics. Sophia Farooq is running for the chairmanship of the Cobb County GOP. And one, we wanted to make sure that folks had a chance to meet her, but there's also been some strange claims that have come out publicly, and we wanted to get some of that addressed, but we also wanted to give people a sense of what this really is. And we'll talk about that in the coming few minutes. We'll also talk about a very concerning subject that is not just Georgia, and we unfortunately saw this coming. We've reported it now for going on 3, maybe 4 weeks, and it is this, you referred to as the pesticide bill, but it really goes beyond that. It's a bill that essentially is meant to protect chemical manufacturers from liability in a number of different circumstances. And so we're going to talk about that. You'll hear it referred to as SB 144. And then a couple things about what Trump's accomplishing with our buddies, we're tongue in cheek with Trendiaragua, and the first of a number of flights leaving the U.S. to go back to El Salvador and drop these guys off for prison. So that should be an interesting short piece as well. And then anything else you want to slide in as we said?
We'll throw it in at the end, Bill, with the kitchen sink.
There you go.
We have had some outreach to the Georgia Record, to me primarily. Bill doesn't know about this, but some of the older, Republican establishment wants some more information on what the Trump team is doing in D.C. and help them understand that. So Bill's been really spot on that. So we hope that this show and others are going to help just get some of these people who don't understand, may have not been following everything in the news for a decade, really doesn't understand what is happening, why Musk and Doge and Trump are doing all this. We want to get you up to speed, so we're going to work on that. We also have a new sponsor. We brought Tucker Carlson on last week. I mentioned I flew up to Tucker's to his studio in Maine for an hour interview on Fox Nation a while back. I've been on his show many times. And he's brought out a new product. We ran a really funny ad last week, but I think you'll enjoy this one. It's called Out. And boy, did we get some sales this week. There's a lot of Zen users out there who are tired of supporting woke products. So we're gonna show another ad from Tucker right now.
So we are in the factory in Kentucky. This is Alp World HQ, and we are at the end of the packing line. So I'm going to show you how it works. We have the card, throw that in there. There's a packing slip, and then you have the Alp. And 4, but that seems honestly like a lot. 3 now, but it's good. These pack a punch that, for a normal nicotine brand, it'd be like 8. We think 3 is fine. Next one. Again, 4. Let's go 3 in just to keep it fair. Okay? There you go. So you can see you can get fast at this. And really, it's just a matter of repetition. This is kind of the assembly line that, Henry Ford devised so long ago.
Tucker, stealing all the out again.
I hope you enjoyed that, Bill. I'm sorry about that.
No. He's he's a fun guy. You're getting to see a side of Tucker that sometimes people don't recognize, but he's a funny guy.
He's a funny guy. So if you're a Zen user, make the switch to Alp. It's alppouch.com/CDM for our audio audience. alppouch.com/CDM for a better experience. My understanding is it tastes better. It's more moist. Just a greater product all around, and it's not woke. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Bill, because I know you got a lot to bring out.
Okay. So let's talk directly about this first piece. Over the last, week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, there's been some outlandish claims that have surfaced regarding a simple candidate for the Cobb County GOP. And you have to look at, we keep going back to the same dynamic. You have to look for the patterns. You have to look for the parallels. Where have we seen someone attacked from multiple sources all at the same time, but claiming different things and claiming really outlandish stuff? Does it sound a lot like, I don't know, our 47th president, perhaps?
Perhaps.
Some people will say, well, gosh, that's a big stretch. I don't think it is. I think it's a strategy. I think it's a tactic that you will see used again and again and again when a party, a person that is not traditional, is not an establishment person, goes to take a position of leadership. The people want them. The people like them. The people love them. And yet others will stand in their way and throw up everything they can come up with, either on their own right, or maybe they're being incented in some way to come up with things that will keep this person held back. And we saw this. We saw the pattern, and we said, you know what? We've got to find a way so that folks can learn who Sophia Farooq really is. And that is happening. And it's happening in a way that the people are speaking up saying, you know what? We like her. We like the way she talks. We like her ideas. And yet these people continue to try in the background to, oh gosh, she's bad for this and bad for that. Well, let's listen for the next few minutes, and you will get to learn who Sophia really is. And you will get to see her speak at the GRA forum, candidate forum that just occurred. And you'll see how other people reacted to her. So here we go. We are delighted this afternoon to welcome Sophia Farooq, who is running for the Cobb County GOP chairmanship in this next election. Sophia, thank you so much for making time for us.
Hi, Bill. Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
You bet. So there's a lot of folks in Cobb County. Not everybody's had a chance to meet you yet. So perhaps great place to start is, tell us a little bit about your background and yourself.
Sure. Well, I have been a resident of Cobb County for over 20 years. I moved to Georgia from the Washington, Northern Virginia area. And interestingly, when I first came down, I was trying to figure out where to live. I'd moved down for Delta Airlines, and they, as I was looking around, my realtor said, Cobb County has the lowest taxes in the area. You might be interested in Cobb. And low taxes piqued my interest, and the rest is history. I fell in love with Cobb and have stayed here for over 20 years now.
Well, you've seen a lot of change in 20 years, haven't you?
Oh, my goodness, yes. It has grown quite a bit. We're fortunate to now be nearly, over 800,000, I believe, nearly a million. We're headed towards a million and growing very fast. The demographics are changing. It's a vibrant county, and it's a wonderful place to live with great schools.
That's great. So how did you get involved with the GOP, and what kinds of things have you been focused on so far?
So, 2020 was interesting because it piqued a lot of people's interest. I was excited for the 4 years of Trump, but when Trump lost in 2020, that was an eye opener. And so as one starts to delve into what's happening, they feel like maybe, that was a fluke and things might get better. 2022 happened and we still didn't see a correction. And that's where I started to really take great interest and began attending different meetings, different events, faculty trainings, anything I could get my hands on as far as information as to what's going on brought me into the Cobb GOP. And at the time, we had fantastic programs going on, bringing people in, showing them about what's happening with elections and the state of affairs, both locally and nationally. And so that really created this synergistic connection for me that I've stayed engaged ever since. And 2022, 2023 is when I truly became fully engaged, becoming a member, working on campaigns for different candidates, from Trump all the way down to the local candidates,
Hmm.
sheriff and beyond.
Oh, that's neat. How did you find the Trump campaign? It kind of seemed to evolve over 22 to 24 time frame. Did you find that?
Uh, you know, it's not a reflection on Trump per se, because obviously his strategy kicked in
Mm,
closer to the final year before the election. But is setting up towards 2024 election, it seemed to change as to what tools we're going to use within Georgia, as to where to focus, how we're going to go about it. So tremendous amount of training, tremendous amount of ideas. But it wasn't until really Trump Force 47 came in that there was a level of strategy that really drove people to where should we focus, how should we focus, and what should we do. So I'd call it an evolution, but not
hmm.
necessarily a straight evolution.
Yeah, there was an interesting time. I'm trying to recall when it was. I believe it was about this time, early in 24, that I heard from one of the folks in the campaign that they were moving away from the party to party fight kind of thing and moving more toward a common sense approach, meaning people don't really, in my mind as well, people don't really want different things. They want the same things. They just look at it from kind of two sides. So what that means is, folks want, generally for themselves, they want a chance to succeed. They want a chance to earn a reasonable living. They want safety for their family, for the kids, for themselves. They want an opportunity for the kids to learn well. And so you find a lot of commonality when you look across various groups. And do you find that those kinds of things are true across the various communities in Cobb?
Absolutely. Uh, People are looking for the exact same thing. They're looking for affordability. They're looking for safety. They're looking for good schools. They're looking for community. Those values are tenets of every human, as well as the Republican Party. And those are opportunities for us to connect with one another.
Oh, that's great. So looking forward, you must have some vision that you want to kind of move the group toward, should you be elected chairman. Can you share a little bit of that vision with us?
So let's take a step back and set the ground floor for what's going on here in Cobb.
Hmm.
So we talked a little bit about the Trump election, and what Trump brought in 2024 was really foundational, but it was greatly funded. So strong dollars came into Cobb County, great tools were leveraged, and fantastic strategy. What we will be missing as we go forward is the great funding. So 2026, I don't expect us to have the tremendous financial support that we saw. What that means for us is that we need to look at our numbers and really understand the gains that we had in 2024. One of those was that we did increase in votes for Trump with that tremendous amount of support and spend. We were
Hmm.
able to move the needle to, and I'm going to give you some rough numbers, so apologies if these are not fully accurate, but about 3,200 votes we were incrementally able to increase from 2020. So 2024, we see that for Trump. Now, the disappointing side of that storyline is that the Democrats were incrementally able to increase our gains and double those to over 6,500 in votes in Cobb County. What that means for us as Republicans, as the Cobb GOP, is that we need a fantastic vision and ground game, and it can't come 1 year prior to the election. It really needs to be something that's built and is actually building throughout the next year, 2 years, and even into the next, presidential election, because it's going to take that much time. So some of the strategies that I have is to really look at the foundation of the GOP. There's really three things that matter. Yes, getting candidates elected matters, but the only way you can do that is by having membership and growing your message and growing in the community. So creating that brand, it's bigger than just attending or going door knocking, attending events, going door knocking. It's really engaging and building community, talking to business owners, building that relationship throughout every corner of Cobb, and taking us to that next level of engagement. And then it also includes fundraising. We need to look at fundraising as a county party in a much different way than we've been doing so, which means that, today we're really funded by events like a monthly breakfast
Hmm.
and membership. And those are wonderful. And we'd like to continue events. But we have the opportunity to now start tapping into businesses. If we're making those relationships with businesses on the front side, sharing our values, those are going to be contributors on the back side. And those will be relationships we're able to continue to build on. Those businesses also allow us to do a few other things beyond just fundraising and relationship building. They become for minority communities, and it doesn't matter where you're from. You like to go to the restaurants, the businesses that you feel trust with. And if you're
Hmm.
creating those synergistic relationships, those business owners are the ones that people in the community turn to say, what's going on? Or, oh, there's an election. Who should we vote for? What do you think? Those types of conversations happen amongst communities with trusted individuals. So that's something that makes a big difference. So fundraising will be really paramount for us. It'll be big. It'll be with galas. It'll be with maybe tournaments, golf tournaments, or pickleball tournaments. We'll see what the membership would like us to do. And we will look at what the auxiliary groups are doing and see if there's opportunities to partner here in Cobb. And so that will build that foundation. Membership will grow. And then we'll also focus on the last portion. And my team, which I've created a slate as well as grown a broader team, because I know there's a lot of work to do and we need to hit the ground running. The team consists of someone who will fill a Veterans Affairs position,
Hmm.
and that'll outreach into the veterans. We have 60,000 veterans in Cobb, which
Wow.
is a tremendous amount. It's an opportunity for us to reach out to them on the values, love of country, safe communities. We share the core tenets uniquely. And so that allows us to tap into them and build programs and relationships with them. And then I've also filled another seat, or created another seat in this case, and that is for a focus on candidates and candidate development. My hope is to actually see us looking at elections with a runway of 2 years in advance, not 6-month or a qualifying's happening in the next 3 weeks. Let's find somebody kind of viewpoint. We want to be building that journey of identifying individuals, cultivating them. Maybe it's people coming out of the workforce with fantastic backgrounds who would be willing to serve.
Mhm.
And really looking at providing the tools, the training, and resources for those people who are coming out who don't know much, but giving them that ability to step up and run with a level of success and information that will help carry them through the election.
Yeah, that echoes a couple of points that I literally just heard in the last few days, which is, one, it takes time to develop relationships, just for folks to know one another, even at a beginning level. But then it takes time to build trust, and then trust is where, the opportunity to suggest or even influence decisions comes in, because people will react to those they trust most quickly. And as you said, it happens in all the different things we do throughout life. Sometimes the conversations happen at restaurants. Sometimes they happen at the barber shop. Sometimes they happen while we're going about our daily routine or at work. It sounds fascinating to be able to try to foster those things, where people live, so that the dialogue is not just something that pops up 6 months before the next election.
That's
It's
very
an
true.
ongoing thing.
That's very true. We have, to win back Cobb, we're going to need to look at the voter rolls and really target swing voters. That's going to be a key, along with really bringing our message into communities. We can't be knocking on doors of hard Republicans. It's not going to help us win the votes or win the elections to really make a difference. We really do need to now expand our message beyond. And that's where, to your point, trust truly is something that's cultivated. It doesn't happen overnight. It's not going to
Mhm.
come from door knocking opportunity. It's really going to take that relational journey. And that's what we hope to build.
Yeah. Now, on the other side of sort of the discussion, not unlike in some ways some of the pressure that even Trump had to face. Folks have thrown up some things that don't appear, they don't appear to be true, but they also seem to be searching for things to, oh gosh, this is wrong with Sophia's campaign, and this is wrong. You were able to speak to the GRA forum, I understand, this past week, and had addressed one of the concerns, which is the question of faith, directly with them, and got some very direct feedback from the crowd that was there. If you're okay, I'd like to share that with folks.
Please do.
Sophia.
So faith is very important to me, and I'll start with saying, one, this has become a big issue for the Cobb GOP, and there's been a lot of mud being slung around on these topics. We need to put this to rest, so this is a great question, and I appreciate all the questions that may have come in on this. So let me start with saying faith is very personal, and I am, my parents came to this country in the 1960s, and so they've been here a long time. They're Muslim. I am Muslim because that's where I was born, but I have a sister who's married to a Catholic, and I have an uncle married to a Jewish person. So is religion something that I'm open to and understand broadly? Absolutely. I shouldn't have to share who everyone's married to, though, to get that across to everyone. The second thing, the Hamas question, Israel, I stand with Israel. It's plain and simple. I cannot believe this has become an issue. And the third thing, sorry, just if I can name, sorry. Thank you. The third thing on Hamas, I am against all terrorism, period. That includes Hamas, that includes Hezbollah, that can include a whole host of things. We can run down the list if you want to give me more time. But truly, these questions need to stop. This division needs to stop. We need to be unified. For 2 years I was with you, and you never asked these questions.
Thank you. All right, Mary Clarice, when you're ready.
I think that was an amazing way to address, one of these questions that's come out of, the backfield that somebody came up with. But you could see the reaction of the crowd and the fact that they could see the earnestness with which you answered it, and the very fact that you're addressing it, directly. So I give you a lot of credit for that.
Well, thank you. It's important to have unity. We are a fantastic Cobb GOP party, and I want everyone to work together and stay together. And we have tremendous work to do here in Cobb. So unity is very important to me, and I look forward to working with everyone after the election, as well as, continued into 2026. We have important work to do together.
That's great. So 2 questions to close. One is, where can folks get more information on you and your campaign? And when is the actual election?
So you can visit my website. You can learn about my slate, as well as all of the details on my campaign. My website is Sophia for Cobb, and that's the number 4. So Sophia for Cobb, and please come take a look and visit.
And when is the election coming up?
The election is actually right around the corner. It's on Saturday, the 22nd. I look forward to seeing all the delegates and the alternates there, and I'm looking forward to having the elections and seeing where we're going next. I feel the voters have a chance to see 3 visions for Cobb, and I look forward to seeing which path they would like to take.
That's great. We will look forward to hearing feedback as you get through the elections, and we appreciate so much your time today so that we could hear a little bit more about what's going on. We'll look forward to hearing an update soon.
Thank you so much, Bill. Thank you.
So great conversation with Sophia Farooq. What strikes me is, the pattern that we talked about, and very frankly, the same people that were going after others that we know now we can trust, David Cross, BKP, and others, are the same people that are throwing the stuff up against Sophia. You've got, establishment tied folks. You've got folks that may be being compensated. You've got discredited folks from third parties and so forth. And it really is easy to see the dynamic, and we don't have to go through another Russia experience to figure this one out. So I thought it was very important to see the reaction that the folks that attended the GRA forum had for Sophia. And very frankly, going after people's, their ancestors to try to paint them in a corner, it doesn't work. I mean, it didn't work for JFK. His father made money in, as I recall, bootlegging back in the day. And, at the end of the day, that was not who JFK was. So it's a little bit of a stretch, but at the end of the day, people are who they are. And what I think is happening is people are discovering and understanding who Sophia Farooq really is and valuing that. So I thought it was important to bring that forward.
I noticed, Bill, that we have a lot of different channels. I'm looking at all of them we're streaming to right now, and the interest in that interview really spiked when you started it. I could see the numbers coming in. So this was very much watched. We had one comment from 80s Reaganite. Let me throw this up here and see what you think. Will you interview the other 2 candidates?
I'd be happy to. I don't see, what's interesting is I don't see some of these weird attacks going on with the other guys, but we're happy to have them on and have a discussion if they would like to.
Yes, exactly. So I'm going to pay some bills real quick. We have a new product. It is Nucleo Boost. It's why we're all smiling every weekend for the show and every Monday through Friday when we come on. And it's from John B. Wells. I'm going to play a quick ad from them.
I'm watching my friends gain more and more weight. And then eventually, I got to tell you, this is a little dark, but bad diet literally killed my whole crew.
Wow.
Diabetes, a stroke. I mean, all kinds of stuff. It's like, you had a stroke? You're not even 50 years old. You guys got to quit eating this stuff. Your body knows what's what. You are not conscious of this. But that's why people will go to the refrigerator and they'll grab this and that and the other and put together this outrageously elaborate combination of foods. Your body's trying to reach balance. Unbeknownst to us, our bodies are always trying to reach homeostasis. You can't eat all of this stuff and expect to live a long time. And one thing led to another, and I went, forget this. We're going to make our own product. So we partnered with one of the world's top 3 biochemists where nutrition-specific study is concerned. I said, all I want is the best nutritional and immune support product in the world. So we mixed it in yogurt. It's a powder. I got a bag of it here. I keep one on the console all the time, just so I can show people.
Yeah.
And it's a powder. Now, this is not candy. This is hardcore nutrition. And sugar is an enemy. And most people do not know that the reason these bellies are showing up on people all over the place, your body makes fat to store the toxins it can't get rid of. So it just puts them over here. But I can tell you this, you take this for 30 days and then lay off of it for 2 or 3 days, and you'll go, good grief, give me some more. Skin, nails, hair growing back, cut yourself and it heals in half the time.
Okay, Bill, where do we go from here?
All right. So let's talk about I'll call it a huge disappointment, but kind of like Doge, kind of like the rest of this, we're getting disappointments in the midst of learning unfortunate and in some cases hard truths. This week we learned that our legislature has some motivations and priorities that do not appear to be in line with certainly Georgians and maybe people in general. I'm going to show something that kind of jumps to the chase on this a bit. This is a piece of literature. I ended up producing this on a little page, and we shared this with members of the Forsyth convention that occurred yesterday. SB 144, the so-called pesticide bill that essentially protects chemical companies from litigation, from harm from their products, as long as they have a warning label, even if the warning label doesn't address what harms them. And this has been, we've talked about this now for going on the better part of a month, if not more. And we've tried to alert folks that this is dangerous. It's dangerous mainly for the farmers, very frankly, because whatever they're exposed to, they're probably exposed to it more than anybody else in their communities. But it also potentially has implications for consumers and others. You will hear Mallory Staples talk about this in just a moment, but unbelievably, after all the warnings that we gave about this being well beyond Georgia, this being a national issue that's got national attention, just about, in this case, every elected official from Forsyth County voted for it, from the Senate and from the House. And basically the only people that didn't, I believe, were limited to folks that are associated with the Georgia Freedom Caucus, as you will hear Mallory state. We're going to talk again about the implications and the risks of this, but this is essentially saying we are worried more about the lobbyists for these chemical companies, the resources that those folks can make available to our legislators or others, and agendas that have nothing to do with the welfare of folks living in Georgia, especially the farmers, but really potentially anybody. So I want to jump to the comments that Mallory made. You can see her sitting here. And for those of us who know Mallory Staples, This is not her happy face, and you can tell that. So let's listen to what she had to say.
Really grateful for voting records because you can cut through the emotionality and the lip service that these members of the General Assembly give you at town forums and stuff, and when you call them, and you need to cut through that. And with the vote for SB 144, which passed with a yes from every single Republican in the General Assembly, except for your Freedom Caucus members, they voted to pass this and give Monsanto a liability shield for people who are suing them because, I don't know, their products cause cancer. And the MAHA movement has been clear. Robert Kennedy Jr. has been clear. The people in this country have been clear. They want our food and our air and our water and our soil safe and cleaned up. And your Republicans just voted, nah, let's protect these people. Y'all ask me all the time what happens to good folks who go in good and end up being absolute scoundrels with trash voting records. It's the lobbyists. That's what happens to them. And it's called corruption. And it is on full display. Also, the budget was passed that gutted school choice. I think you've heard this, and funneled the money into, it was over $90 million out of the Promise Scholarship and put it into that jacked up surveillance student bill that we're fighting so hard. And all of your Republicans, except for the Freedom Caucus, voted in favor of that budget. Y'all have got to take note of this and cut through the noise and get these people out of office. Done. Keep your own scorecard. And these people need to hear about it from you. I mean, that Monsanto bill can only be stopped by the governor, Brian Kemp. And if you want to know details, if you have not read this little girl right here, Under the Dome latest newsletter, you need to get on that. It is broken down in great detail. And y'all need to be adamantly communicating emphatically your disapproval of what your elected officials are doing. Because right now, they're not representing you. They're representing lobbyists. End of story, period, hard stop. They're not here for the people. You can't get away from this vote. I'm embarrassed for them, honestly. I'm embarrassed for them.
So you could tell that, you know, Mallory is willing to make very direct comments about this because it is so important.
Well,
I'll give you a personal experience on this in just a couple of minutes, but I want to make sure people are getting this. This is not new. And this gives you an example. Bear was lobbying Congress last year for essentially the same thing. We don't want to be fighting these lawsuits. And they're complaining that, oh, we're going to go belly up if we have to keep fighting these lawsuits. Well, if you're shipping out products that are poisoning and potentially killing people, then perhaps you deserve to go out of business. I don't know. That isn't up for us to decide. But the point is, you shouldn't be immune. And the notion of immunity, where have we heard that before? Well, it's with regard to the jabs that folks have been exposed to. And now the McCullough Foundation and others are starting to raise real red flags about the long-term effects of these things. Where does that stand? Well, RFK has said he wants to get rid of the immunity associated with many of these things. And we're going to see in a minute a comment that he made regarding these specific companies. Here's Mallory's comments. You can read that in the post. You can also read it on the Georgia Record. Here's the votes. This is the Senate. And everybody that's in green voted yes for this, the vast majority. Why would they do that? Well, I asked one of the legislators that I was speaking with yesterday in Forsyth. I'm not going to name them at the moment, but what I heard was, well, you know, there's just so many bills. It's tough to read them all. Well, this thing was
pathetic.
That's
pathetic.
You would say that. This bill was about 2 pages, maybe 2.5, including the preamble. What in the hell? We're talking about potential poisons. And yet, well, we didn't have time. And then we relied on, you know, folks from the agriculture industry to advise us. Oh my goodness. That's like asking the wolf, where should I put my eggs? You know, why would you do such a thing. And yet, unabashedly, they seem to be happy to show up in front of a couple hundred of their constituents and stand there like they've done everything right. Well, many were not very happy to find the page that I started this section with laying on people's tables and having been read, and now they begin to understand what in the heck is going on.
Well, there's a theme here, Bill, and I know you're going to talk about it nationwide, but essentially we're running into a corporate fascist kind of model here, where the corporation runs the government and the people just have no say. So it's corporate and other interests combined to repress the people and to further their own oligarch interests.
It seems so. And even more dastardly, you hear about these lobbyists and the companies impressing money back into investments in people's campaigns and so forth. Well, think about what we've learned in the last 2 months now, or month and a half. We've learned that one of the ways that happens is money goes from the government to one or more NGOs, then to other NGOs, then to other NGOs, and in some cases makes its way back to create things in our own legislatures, not just at the federal level, but at state levels. So it becomes very dastardly when you start digging into this. Now, you can't read this on screen. We will publish this on the Georgia Record, but here's the House members that voted for this. And again, the vast majority did. But then you start looking around. All you got to do is get on Twitter or any of the other social media. But Twitter is very good at this. And you look up the word pesticide and bill, and you start seeing stuff like this. These are people all over the country raising the alarm on this. Here's one lady that talks about how important this is and the fact that it's not just one location. And let's hear from her.
News on pesticides in Montana. I spent the afternoon participating in and listening to the Agricultural Committee in Montana discuss the pesticide liability shield bill that would give pesticide manufacturers like Bayer and ChemChina immunity from lawsuits when people get sick from their sprays and their poisons. This is atrocious, and what was more atrocious is to see these elected officials talking like this is a great thing to protect the manufacturers' rights and protect farmers by making sure they can always spray these poisons. And so it was just very disappointing. What we need to do is get more and more voices. If you can please go to my bio and sign up and with me and put your information, I will contact you when something comes up in your state, or if you would like to participate on federal or any other state issues regarding this pesticide liability shield. We need more voices. I was one of just a handful of people that showed up today to speak, and it wasn't loud enough. And so many, many more hands if we can get this done.
Okay. Bear with me for a moment. So back here, and here's Wall Street Apes, a poster that many follow across the country. And they're going to talk about the national effort going on at the same time about the same issue, trying to get, immunity for these. And it isn't just, we hear pesticide, but it isn't just pesticide. ChemChina and Bayer, and it's not just Monsanto, are the manufacturers of many chemicals, any of which could have horrendous effects on people. And people associate this with Roundup. It is not limited to Roundup. That might be one decent example, but it's not limited to that. So let's hear what he was reporting based on the national effort.
Subcommittee hearing on HSB 737, which would give pesticide companies immunity for citizens trying to file lawsuits against them for damages. This bill was already shut down in the House Ag Committee, and now it's being brought back in Ways and Means. This bill just passed the subcommittee, and it will take away farmers' rights to pursue legal action after damages are caused to their families and themselves. The basic argument presented by Bayer and other chemical companies is that the lawsuits that are being brought up by them about the damages caused by their products is going to put them out of business. And it's true. Bayer spent $3 billion on average a year over the last 6 years fighting lawsuits and only brought in $300 million in profit. But only 1% of Bayer's civil suits come from Iowa's farmers. I don't know about you, but I would rather see Bayer suffer as a company than Iowa's farmers suffer. Industry should not have more say than the people.
It seems like a pretty safe statement to make, doesn't it? And
It
even
does. Yeah.
and even RFK has weighed in on this. You might not be able to read it easily, but down at the bottom, RFK's quote on this is the apogee of corporate socialism. It's a license for chemical companies to poison Americans with no liability.
So I wonder if there's a way for a federal, response to this Georgia law. What do you know anything about that?
I don't know yet. We're hoping. There's so many of these things floating around right now. We seem to the urgency with which this passed.
Yeah.
Almost strikes us as similar to and in parallel with the urgency with which they're trying to get the tort reform bill passed. Does it have to do with the dynamics going on at the national level? Maybe. RFK has already said he wants to remove immunity from the vaccine makers, and clearly he wants to make sure we don't give immunity to chemical makers that are producing things that could act as poison. Is that the reason for the urgency? Not sure. Don't know. But something is pushing this pretty darn hard. I think it took, if I recall, it was either Mallory or somebody else said it took 10 days, essentially 10 legislative days for 144 to pass. That's pretty damn fast. So
yeah.
What's driving it? Something's driving it.
Well, I think that's pretty obvious to see. Again, pattern recognition, right? I mean, we saw this with COVID. We saw it with everything. When the corporate fascists want something, they get it done, pushed through their compliant legislators.
Yep. So a couple more things, and then we're gonna hear from the founder of Moms Across America, who has done a bunch of work on this and is very well up to speed and well spoken on the issue. Here again is another example of this is happening in multiple states all at the same time. Why? Because it's an agenda. It's not about Georgia farmers, and I'm horrified and disgusted by some of our legislators putting out statements. Oh, this is to protect Georgia farmers. Agriculture is so important. We're the leader in this. Blah 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 blah. It is not about Georgia farmers. This is a much bigger issue, and anybody that's listening should understand that by now and be able to dismiss the crap that's coming out from some of the legislators. Here's another example of Iowa having the same issue, and unfortunately, they may pass the darn thing too. Let's hear from Zen Honeycutt, again, the founder of Moms Across America, and her thoughts on this whole issue.
I think I said this in my last episode. Some people blame capitalism, that it's just people that are being greedy, that will do whatever they can to save a dollar. This system we have today is not capitalism. No. This is not a free market. When you have laws that protect you from our judicial system, that is not capitalism.
Right.
That's what RFK Jr. says. It's crony capitalism. We need, the theme, every time I find corruption, the theme is that they're hiding from the free market.
Right.
The free market is you get injured by a company, by someone, you sue them in court, you get a jury of your peers, you hopefully get a fair judge, and they decide, yes, you got injured or you didn't. Here's your remedy for that. Like, you got injured by having to sell your property when you shouldn't have had to.
Right.
You should get your property back. You should at least get the money that
Restore
would be
my
worth,
loan.
restore your loan, anything. Okay. But you can't, because they're hiding from the free market.
Right.
You don't have to, you can't go to court.
Right.
Like I said, you got the golden ticket and you were able to sue on something, but you're not suing Farm Credit. You're suing the president of the United States.
Right.
I talked to my friend Tiffany last week about arbitration court. That should be illegal because it goes against the three branches of government. It hides from the free market.
That's right.
Same thing with these glyphosate companies. They are trying to hide from the free market. The free market would say, okay, you poisoned me, you gave me cancer, you need to pay for that.
Right.
And they would be sued into oblivion that would make them either change their product and make it safe, or they would go out of business.
Yeah.
And they're trying to hide from that. And that's not okay. So we need to restore democracy, republic, our republic. You know, we have our Constitution was the greatest gift from our founding fathers, and we need to implement it. We need to protect it, and we can't protect what we don't know. So if you haven't read the Constitution, please do that. And we need to learn it. We need to study it. We need to protect it, and we need to not let this happen.
Pretty interesting and thoughtful discussion of this at another level. You know, it goes beyond just this claim. It's a more pervasive thing, and that is hiding from the actual processes that should be able to be available to folks if they are harmed by anything, essentially. And you see the same thing in the tort reform, and you see the same thing here.
Again, it's the same theme where you, as you say, hide from the free market, hide from the people, whatever. But it's a shift towards a corporate structure of government that I find really disturbing. And I think it's been going on for a long time. And finally, as people are waking up to it. So either we're governed by our founding principles and the Constitution, which they like to say is just an old piece of paper, or we're governed by, you know, some oligarchy that makes the rules as they go along. I think that's where we're at as a society.
It feels very much that, doesn't it?
Why don't we do a quick ad from David Cross? If you have a problem in your life financially, whether not a problem, but a change in your life, a death, a divorce, a sale of a company, something of that nature where you need financial advice and make sure your portfolio is structured, go to U.S. Asset Management with David Cross.
This is a special report.
Knowing how to invest your money is harder than ever before. Dealing with stock market volatility, record debt, and terrorist attacks requires new thinking. At U.S. Asset Management, we can help you see the world more clearly so that you can move beyond the chaos and invest with confidence. Call us, visit us online, or drop by our office. U.S. Asset Management, helping you make better decisions with your money.
So are we at that point yet, Bill, where we're going to throw in the kitchen sink, or you got some more stuff you want to get out?
Well, you know, these guys may feel like they're getting hit by the kitchen sink, but I did want to talk just briefly about Trump implementing the Alien Enemies Act regarding the invasion of the United States by Tren de Aragua. Now, understand this act goes back quite a ways. This goes back more than the past century, and is generally regarded as a military action or part of a military action. But it is clear that this organization, which we have called out, gosh, I don't know how many times over the last year, and is present and operating here in Georgia, is one of the key risks as we go forward when you look at the illegal immigrants that have come in. You know, some people come in, they're innocent, they're trying to do something good for their family. Other people have an agenda, and they're past criminals. They may be, you know, escaped. They may be just released from other countries, but are not good people that are wandering around now. And so, high degree of priority in having these people go back from whence they came. That began over the last couple of weeks, and I wanted to show an example of that in action. Trump is having the folks gather these people up and take them back via planes in many cases to places like El Salvador, who has agreed to take them in and put them in the El Salvadorian prisons. Not a great place to be from what I am hearing. So we thought we'd show this. So the point here is, these are serious actions that are being taken, but you can tell that they're necessary. All you got to do is look at some of the characters they're picking up, and they're better off going back from whence they came than being here in this country and creating risk for our citizens.
You're right. We've been covering that for some time on Colorado, especially with the Colorado Free Press, a CDM site. But there's one word for that, Bill. It's called deterrence.
That's right.
I think that that'll get the message across.
I hope so, and we continue to be amazed, even with the ICE raid, if you will, on the Hyundai plant that occurred now, I think about 3 weeks ago. The reaction in the legislature, the reaction from Kemp, the reaction from Carr appears to be missing. Where is the investigation into other companies? Where's the investigation into how people are circumventing the hiring process? Go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, there's a quick way to fix this issue. If they can't be hired, then they will self-deport because they can't make money unless they turn to crime, and then they'll be deported. So there's a brilliance in Trump's strategy, but you're right. That missing piece is the corporate structure. And I was going to ask you before you said that, what was Brian Kemp's comments on that Hyundai plan again? But there was none. So
yeah, the phone didn't ring. It must have been him.
Yeah. All right, Bill. That's all I got. Please support our new sponsor, outpouch.com/CDM. If you're a Zen user, don't buy the woke product. Get a better experience. That's all I got.
One more piece, as long as we've got, I think, a minute or two left.
Yeah, we got fine. Yeah, go ahead.
So all across the country this weekend and through Monday, through tomorrow, is an effort to spread the word on Tina Peters, who is still being held inappropriately, wrongfully, for doing nothing other than protecting the elections of Colorado and essentially the elections of the U.S. There are many hundreds, thousands of people that are working on this. We will participate through our Rumble channel and through Insist on Truth's Rumble channel. At 4:00 today, we'll be having a group on to do a live stream. And as part of that, they will show the movie Selection Code, which essentially tells the story of Tina Peters and what she did to try to protect our elections and what they have done, which in some ways people are drawing parallels between what they're putting her through and what they've put the J6 folks and Trump himself through. They've used every tool, every trick that they can to be able to find her guilty of something and then exact the maximum punishment that they could enact. She is currently serving a sentence of more than 9 years in prison for doing nothing more than making a copy of data to protect it from those that she had reason to believe, and in fact, she was, I believe, proven that they would erase it or remove it. And all it was. So please join us for that. 4:00 this afternoon. It'll be on our X channels, Insist on Truth, CDM. I think it's on yours as well, Todd, if I remember correctly. And then it'll be on CDM Rumble. So rumble.com/CDM and rumble.com/Insist on Truth. Please join us. Anything else?
That's all I got, Bill. Let's go.
All right. We will see you all next time. Thank you.